Good afternoon, students. Now, these are the external features of the brain. Here, the entire brain is covered by three layers of matter: dura mater, arachnoid matter, and pia mater. Since we have removed the dura mater, that was the meningeal and endosteal layer which we have removed, as the meningeal layer separated from endosteal layer and formed the various folds. One fold which dipped inside was the falx cerebri. Now here, straight away, we are able to see this very thin fold, this layer, very thin. This is the arachnoid matter. And this arachnoid matter, you can easily scrape it off, as I'm scraping it off. Once you scrape the arachnoid matter, you come across to the folds. These folds are called gyri, and the septa deep inside, they are called sulci. So gyri and sulci, they are covered by pia mater. This is arachnoid matter. Space between arachnoid matter and pia mater, that is below subarachnoid space. Below the arachnoid matter is subarachnoid space, where I put my forceps inside. So here I put my forceps in the subarachnoid space, which will be having a CSF and blood vessels. In certain areas, we have cleared the arachnoid matter, where straight away we are able to focus on the pia mater. Now, as we start with the coverings, arachnoid matter, below that is pia mater. This pia mater will be lining the edges, it will be lining the gyri and sulci in such a way that it will deep inside, in between the various gyri, deep in the sulci. Similarly, this pia mater will send a few septa around the blood vessels which will enter inside. Then we come across to the neural tissue. Always remember that cerebral hemisphere along with the cerebellum, these two are cerebellar hemispheres. So cerebral hemispheres with the cerebellum, they will contain outer gray matter, inner white matter. Whereas the brain stem along with spinal cord will contain outer white matter and inner gray matter. This is constant. Then the entire neural tissue contains, it is made up of nervous tissue, that is neurons and neuroglia. Now remember one thing, gray matter, which we see outside in cerebral hemispheres as well as in the cerebellar hemisphere. This gray matter will contain neurons, that is cell bodies of neurons. Also it will contain blood vessels and neuroglia. And what about white matter? White matter will contain the processes of neurons, such as axons, as well as the blood vessels and neuroglia. How much is the distribution of the neurons in CNS? Around 10 to 15 billion. And how much is the distribution of neuroglia? It will be around 50 billion, 50. Then we come to the weight. Weight of the brain, adult brain, is around 1,400 to 1,500 grams. And this weight will be reduced when it is lodged in the cranial cavity because of CSF. So when CSF is covering the brain, the weight of the brain will come around to almost 50 grams. So therefore, now, considering the external features, where we first discussed the tissue and the coverings, now we come to the two cerebral hemispheres, these two cerebral hemispheres. Here the two cerebral hemispheres will have frontal pole, occipital pole, temporal pole on both the sides. And below there will be cerebellar hemispheres, cerebellum. So therefore, the entire central nervous system is divided into prosencephalon, mesencephalon, rhombencephalon. What is prosencephalon? Now, according to developmental anatomy, prosencephalon means the cerebral hemisphere, that is telencephalon. The telencephalic vesicles, that is the telencephalon, that is the cerebral hemispheres. So cerebral hemispheres will develop from telencephalon. And inside, deep in this, there will be diencephalon, a midline structure. So telencephalon, diencephalon together form prosencephalon. Then comes midbrain. Now this is the base of the brain. Deep inside, beneath this arteries, you can see this arterial network, which will be known as circle of Willis. This is the basilar artery, these are the branches, and here this will be the stem of internal carotid artery and its branches. So the branches of internal carotid and basilar will form circle of Willis. Beneath that will be the midbrain. and that midbrain will be shown to you later on. And beneath the midbrain, just caudal to midbrain, this is pons and medulla and cerebellum. So these three structures will be located in the rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon contains, or developmentally, rhombencephalon is made up of metens and myelencephalon. Metencephalon means the pons and cerebellum, and myelencephalon is medulla oblongata. So therefore, in this way, we divide the entire brain into these parts. Now we come across to, now I will exchange this. Now I will show another specimen where we have completely removed the arachnoid matter. There is no arachnoid matter, no blood vessels. We have removed that. So in this, we have removed the arachnoid matter and blood vessels. Now these are purely gyri sulci which are covered by pia mater. So pia mater is covering the gyri sulci. Now, the entire cerebral hemisphere is divided into various surfaces and borders. So each cerebral hemisphere, first of all, right and left, is separated by, here you can see, median fissure, median longitudinal cleft or medial longitudinal fissure, this one, median longitudinal cleft or fissure. What was present here during the process of removal of brain, if you have watched that video, in the process of removal of brain, we have cut across the falx cerebri from here. That was where it was attached to the crest of the frontal bone. And after removal of falx cerebri, at least partially, if you try and separate these two cerebral hemisphere, you are able to see deep inside corpus callosum. So therefore, now each cerebral hemisphere, which is now divided by median longitudinal fissure, where there is presence of falx cerebri, it consists of first border. This is the superomedial border. Second border, this is the inferolateral border. And third border, this border on either side, will be inferomedial border. Inferomedial border. Once again, the borders will be superomedial, inferolateral, and inferomedial border. Three borders separating three surfaces. What are those three surfaces? First surface, this is superolateral surface. Second surface, inferior surface. Third surface. Now third surface is when we separate, when we cut this cerebral hemisphere from the median cleft. And if I show you that, here we have divided one segment. This is the medial surface. The entire medial surface, which will be discussed later on. So therefore, three surfaces are over, three borders, three surfaces, now three poles. Frontal pole, which will be supplied by, this is asked as a viva question, frontal pole is supplied by branches of anterior cerebral artery. Temporal pole is supplied by branches of middle cerebral artery. And occipital pole is supplied by branches of posterior cerebral artery. Then we come across to subdivisions of various lobes. Each cerebral hemisphere, how many lobes are there? There are, number one, frontal lobe. Now this frontal lobe will be extending from frontal pole till the central sulcus, which I will show you. The central sulcus, this is the central sulcus. Now this central sulcus here, this is the central sulcus, which will separate anteriorly frontal lobe. Just behind the central sulcus here, this will be the parietal lobe. Then we come to the occipital lobe. Now occipital lobe will be included in such a way that if we stretch the parieto-occipital sulci, now here, this is the parieto-occipital sulcus, just a line is drawn from parieto-occipital sulcus straight down, from here straight down, and another line is stretched from this lateral sulcus posteriorly, imaginary line. Both are imaginary lines which we have to draw. They are called imaginary lines so that when they meet each other, They will isolate this portion of the tissue, and this lobe will be known as occipital lobe. So the portion in front of parieto-occipital sulcus will be parietal lobe till central sulcus. What about temporal lobe? Now, since this is the lateral sulcus, this lateral sulcus, if you extend posteriorly, then the entire lobe from the temporal pole posteriorly is the temporal lobe. Till what point? Till the point where imaginary line is coming from parieto-occipital sulcus down towards this point. So this much will be the temporal lobe. Now the imaginary line which is coming from the parieto-occipital sulcus down towards this point, this notch, this is the pre-occipital notch, approximately 5 to 6 centimeter in front of occipital pole. So this is the imaginary line joining the pre-occipital notch. In front, temporal lobe. So four major lobes: frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal lobe. Now we come to lateral sulcus. When you open the lateral sulcus, you see another lobe inside. See how beautiful it is seen inside. This is insula or insular lobe, or it is also known as central lobe, or it is also known as island of Reil, R-E-I-L. This is the fifth lobe. Please note down, students, this is the fifth lobe, which is known as the central lobe or the insular lobe or the island of Reil. And sixth lobe will be deep inside, where it will be lying in the form of a C-shaped, and that will be known as limbic lobe. Basically, it will be ring-like structure, and that limbic lobe will form the sixth lobe, where it will contain deep inside, we will show you later on, where it will contain deep inside the parahippocampal gyrus, cingulate gyrus. So therefore, that lobe, if I want to show you in the cut section here, this is the cingulate gyrus above corpus callosum. Of course, I will show you later on also. And it will continue here. If I try and remove this, it will continue here, see here, with the parahippocampal gyrus. This is the parahippocampal gyrus. So this lobe is known as the limbic lobe. So here we finish the lobes. Now we come to superolateral surface. Superolateral surface will have frontal lobe, it will have temporal lobe, it will have the presence of the main sulcus, lateral sulcus, then it will have the presence of central sulcus. Sulci and gyri will be discussed with you in a different segment. So this is just the preliminary. Central sulcus, then we will have parietal lobe, then we will have occipital lobe. These are the elements which are present on the superolateral surface. Now we come to let us take the medial surface. If we take the medial surface here, so a lot of structures. Note down one thing, that this medial surface will be kept in exam. It will be always kept in exam, where you are always asked during the viva, what are the structures that you are able to see here? Just identify the structures. So leaving aside the gyri sulci, which as I told you, we will discuss with you in different segment, here we come across to, this is the medial surface, and in the medial surface we are able to appreciate the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum contains four parts: genu, anterior end. This is the splenium, posterior end. This will be lying around 4 centimeter behind the frontal pole, because this is the, here if you see here, this is the frontal pole. So behind the frontal pole, genu. Splenium, this is occipital pole. So splenium will be lying in front of occipital pole, around 6 to 7 centimeters. Anterior and posterior end of corpus callosum. And this is the body of corpus callosum. Corpus callosum, at present, you just have to, at this stage, remember that it is the biggest commissural fiber. Commissural fibers means connecting right and left cerebral hemisphere. Then below this genu, what you are able to see is the rostrum. It is a continuation of genu only. So corpus callosum contains four parts: from behind to forward, from posterior to anterior, or behind to forwards: splenium, body, genu, and rostrum. From the rostrum, there is a continuation. If you are able to see this thin margin, this is lamina terminalis. This lamina terminalis is the cranial most, cephalic most end of the neural tube. Remember during development, neural tube, the cephalic end of the neural tube and the caudal end. The cephalic most end of neural tube is represented as lamina terminalis. And it is a band of gray matter. Remember, it is a band of gray matter connecting rostrum of corpus callosum with that of the optic chiasma. So here we have cut it. Here basically there is optic chiasma which is cut. Therefore, then we are able to see this tissue, which some portion we have cut it. This tissue, you can see how delicate it is. It is septum pellucidum. This septum pellucidum is connecting the lower border of corpus callosum with that of this white fiber. This is fornix, or it is plural, it is called fornices. So it is one singular, it is called fornix. So between the fornix and the underborder of corpus callosum is septum pellucidum. What is septum pellucidum? It is a mixture of gray and white matter. In between both the layers of septum pellucidum, right and left, there will be a thin amount of fluid inside. When we break open the septum pellucidum, we see a small cavity inside. And this cavity, if I put my forceps, will lead to the entire lateral ventricle. This is the cavity of lateral ventricle, which will be discussed with you later on. Lateral ventricle. This is the cavity of lateral ventricle. Forceps going into anterior horn and the forceps going deep inside into the posterior horn. Where? In the occipital lobe. So this is the septum pellucidum. Now this is the fornix. Now this fornix is nothing but projection fibers. And these projection fibers, because we are showing you the structures where you have to identify in practical, in demonstration, in the viva, you don't have to go into any other detail. You just have to identify. So the fornix is type of projection fiber, which will be passing, starting from alveus fimbria and the crura of the fornix, round the thalamus. This is the thalamus. Round the posterior end of thalamus, it will pass as the crura of the fornix. Both the fornices will join for some time where it will form body of fornix, and then anteriorly both the fornices, right and left, will separate, where they will separate as the right and the left columns of the fornix, and then they will pass into the mammillary body. And as these columns will diverge anteriorly, right and left, it will leave a small interventricular foramen where I'm passing my forceps through. Now this interventricular foramen is the channel connection between lateral ventricle and third ventricle. Now the portion where the forceps you are able to see above through this foramen is lateral ventricle, this portion, and through this foramen here, this empty space here is the third ventricle. So third ventricle is the space present between the two thalami, right and left thalami. Then lower down. Lower down we come across to thalamus and the midbrain. This much is the section of midbrain. And the connection of the empty space, this is the third ventricle, the cavity in the diencephalon or the cavity in the thalamus, because thalamus is the part of diencephalon only. So the midline cavity of diencephalon, third ventricle, will continue down through cerebral aqueduct, which is the cavity in the midbrain, and it will continue in fourth ventricle. Here you are able to see the section of the pons and medulla. Then coming over here, beneath the splenium and dorsal end of thalamus, this is the fissure, choroid fissure, C-shaped choroid fissure, where there will be the fornix, posterior columns of fornix, and there will be choroid plexus. Also there will be choroid plexus, which is not present at this moment. We have removed the choroid plexus. There will be columns of choroid plexus deep inside. So that choroid fissure is a C-shaped fissure present beneath the splenium and on the dorsal surface of the thalamus. And here we are able to see a partial, this is the partial part of the, some portion of the choroid plexus which is present here and also over here. Because choroid plexus, I'll basically tell you what is choroid plexus. Choroid plexus, there are a bunch of capillaries which will penetrate or they are covered by ependyma and double-layered pia mater. The double-layered pia mater is called tela-choroidea. So choroid plexus is present where? In the floor of the lateral ventricle, where it will deep in the inferior horn of lateral ventricle, which is going in the temporal lobe. And also the choroid plexus is present in the third ventricle as well as fourth ventricle. So here, this is about the medial surface. And in the medial surface, when you are asked about third ventricle, in the third ventricle, you will be asked about optic chiasma here. You will be asked about posteriorly, there will be, which is not there will be the pineal gland, which will be present here. And also there will be presence of posterior commissure. So therefore, this is the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Now here, this is the inferior surface of the external features of the cerebral hemispheres, both right and left. We start with this is the orbital surface and this is the tentorial surface. So inferior surface of this temporal lobe, this is the tentorial surface, and here inferior surface of the frontal lobe, here orbital surface. Both the surfaces will have various sulci and gyri. That will be discussed next time. Now here, the important features are, if you are able to see this olfactory nerve. This is the olfactory nerve. And this olfactory nerve, on both the sides, this is of one side. As it passes, it will be divided into medial and lateral olfactory stria, just above this depression, which is known as anterior perforated substance. Now, we come to anterior perforated substance on either side. Now this depression, now if I just try and separate this temporal pole, you are able to see this deep fossa. So this is the anterior perforated substance. Now this anterior perforated substance, you are able to see the perforations. It is pierced by, it is a part of gray matter where it is pierced by the central branches of middle cerebral artery. Viva question. What is anterior perforated substance? It is a mass of gray matter which will be pierced by the central branches of middle cerebral artery. Where is it present? It is present in between this is the lateral sulcus. Laterally, the starting of lateral sulcus. This is the lateral sulcus, and here, this will be the olfactory nerve which will be dividing into medial and lateral olfactory stria. And medial to anterior perforated substance will be this optic chiasma. And this portion, just lateral to it is here uncus. So therefore, now we come to optic chiasma. Now optic chiasma contains, since we have cut it during the process of removal of the brain, that was one step. Here, which we have cut it, we have removed those portions which are the optic nerve. Now this optic nerve will cross and form this is the body of optic chiasma. After optic chiasma, posterior laterally, if you are able to see these two are the optic tracts. So right and left optic tracts. Then we come across to just posterior to optic chiasma, dorsal to optic chiasma. Here, this is the cut portion of the tuber cinereum. This tuber cinereum consists of median infundibulum, through which pituitary gland will be attached. Hypophysis cerebri will be attached. So this is the tuber cinereum, including infundibulum. Posterior to it, you are able to see these two bodies. These two bodies are mammillary bodies. And posterior to mammillary bodies, if you are able to see this depression, posterior perforated substance, then you are able to see the perforations also. This posterior perforated substance is lying between mammillary bodies in front and cranial margin of pons behind. This is the starting of pons, this is the cranial margin, and here this is the posterior perforated substance. It is pierced by central branches of posterior cerebral artery. And on either side of posterior perforated substance, these two, if you are able to see these two cerebral peduncles. See here, these two are the cerebral peduncles. They are a part of midbrain. Now we come to the commonly asked viva question for you people in practical. Show the interpedunculair fossa. These structures, all the structures which I have discussed with you, all these structures, they are interpedunculair fossa. The first question will be boundaries of interpedunculair fossa. Boundaries are anteriorly optic chiasma and posteriorly the cranial border of pons. Then anterolaterally optic tracts. Posterolaterally cerebral peduncles. And the contents will be starting from anterior to posterior. Content number 1, tuber cinereum with infundibulum. Number 2, content number 2, mammillary bodies, pair of mammillary bodies. And content number 3, posterior perforated substance, which is pierced by central branches of posterior cerebral artery. Now we come to this cerebral peduncles. So cerebral peduncles are a part of midbrain, and on the surface of cerebral peduncles, during the process of removal of the brain, those structures are destroyed. So there are basically 4 structures which will be present on the ventral surface. It will cross the cerebral peduncles from anteriorly. Optic tract, basal vein. Then there will be the posterior cerebral artery and superior cerebellar artery. So posterior cerebral artery is structure number 3 and superior cerebellar artery is structure number 4. And in between, through the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar arteries, there will be passing of oculomotor and trochlear nerve. So remember, the structures which are crossing the cerebral peduncles will be from 1, optic tract, number 2, basal vein, number 3, posterior cerebral artery, and number 4, there will be superior cerebellar artery. And the oculomotor and trochlear nerve will be passing in between through the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar artery. And here this is the pons and medulla oblongata. So with this we finish the inferior surface.